The 26-year-old was beaten to death in Taupo in January. From the family home in the Orkney Islands, Brian Aim, her father, a devout Christian, has told media although he's still angry, he can't help but feel sorry for the accused. Glasgow's Daily Record says he's asked New Zealand police to set up a face-to-face meeting. This step of faith is being seen by some as a move towards reconciliation, but by others as just a way for the accused to get a lighter sentence. Garth McVicker of the Sensible Sentencing Trust says New Zealand's brand of restorative justice is set up for the criminal and not for the protection of the victims.
New Zealand has sort of adopted the model of restorative justice that basically is we use the pre-sentence model, which means that if they meet the offender, then the judge, by legislation, must take that into consideration and give a discount on the sentence.
But he's been criticised by Kim Workman of Prison Fellowship New Zealand. He says the Trust is using this occasion to publicly promote their own political agenda, which he says is totally reprehensible.
Victims, especially when they've experienced, a horrible murder like Brian has, don't need to be publicly coerced into taking a position one way or the other.
Mr McVicker wants proof that restorative justice is working.
Ultimately, if we're going to reduce reoffending, then we need to see if the process is working. In New Zealand, we have rushed into bringing restorative justice into our legislative process rather than it being entirely a voluntary thing.
Jackie Katunis of Prison Fellowship New Zealand says there is proof that restorative justice in New Zealand works.
Well, it does work, particularly when you can see victims who have finished or completed a process of meeting with the person that caused them the harm to walk out of that process and feel a freedom.
She believes face-to-face meetings like the one Brian Ames is seeking is about helping victims move on with their lives.
Perhaps Sensible Sentencing Trust are under the misconception that forgiveness is giving the offender a pardon when it's absolutely doing nothing for the offender at all, because you can forgive without the offender even knowing that you've made that decision. So it's the forgiver that receives the freedom, the letting go, the being able to move on.
Brian Ames' intentions to meet his daughter's killer will more than likely be done with a heart for forgiveness. But his decision is shining a light on whether or not restorative justice works here. The teenager is in custody and due to reappear in court next month. Scott Kelso, Nzone Tonight.